All right, hello and welcome to Gamma Size Calendar Dashboard Tutorial / Walkthrough. We're going to show you how you can go from 0 to the proverbial dashboard hero and keep it nice and easy. But first, I want to thank you for your interest in the project, whether you're looking to replicate it for your own chapter or you're just curious how we did this. It means a lot. I'm David. I'm kind of the silent third member of this project and its related presentation. I've done a number of behind the scenes things, and I'm going to be walking us through how we can get to our end result today. So we're super excited, and I'm glad that you're here. I also want to make an important acknowledgement that we weren't trying to reinvent the wheel with this project, and what it turns out is that people have had the thought of arranging things in a calendar format on Power BI before. So I was able to find a very helpful guide, which I will put up here. And the heart of this project and its beating blood was derived from this guide. It was very, very helpful. But of course, I tweaked it for our own purposes, for our academic, to suit our academic needs. And I'm starting us at that base point with the changes that I made. So it's closer to what beta alpha side chapters are going to need. So we're going to start there. But I wanted to acknowledge that was a huge resource and a huge help to me as I was making this project. But we're going to dive even a little bit deeper into it in this video because there was some information gaps in that guide that there were some things I had to figure out on my own. But as we go through this, I will be walking you through it step by step. So we should be all good. So let's get started. All right, so the first thing you're going to need is need some way to figure out when do these important academic events, exams, projects, and presentations, if you want to include other types of events, maybe homework or something, dive deep into it. For the purposes of this guide, we're just going to do exams and major projects and presentations. You're going to need some kind of way to know when do these things happen. And the best way I could think to do that, to find those important academic dates, was through course syllabi. So you're going to need a way to source course syllabi. And there's 3 ways that we did this. And depending on your university, there may be other ways to do it. But these are 3 reliable sources. And number 1 is sourcing from yourself, from your officers, and from your members. This is a very reliable method. Of course, teachers are going to send out syllabi to the students in their classes. And depending on your coverage of the courses that you want to have with your students that are currently in them, this can be a really great way to source syllabi. And of course, these are going to be the most pertinent classes to your student body because your students are expressly in them. But it can be difficult sometimes to track these things down. Not all students have easy access to them. So there's method 2. Method 2 is emailing faculty members, emailing professors. Draft up a cordial email, start with the professors you have connections with, and see what you can get by asking people for them. And most professors are eager to help with a student project like this, and they have the syllabi already, so it's not a difficult ask if you can present it the right way. I think most professors are going to have no problem interacting with that request. The third way is if you have some kind of connection with a department head or some kind of program lead, someone who's in charge of the entire program, may have some kind of higher authorization for Canvas. If you can create a connection there and ask them targetedly for the syllabi that you have not been able to gather using any other method, then that can be a big help for you as well. It certainly was for me. We made a key connection with one of our deans at my university. So that was a big help. Of course, when it comes to these things, use best judgment. I wouldn't start with that connection. I would leave that for the ones that you weren't able to get. You want to treat people's time with respect, of course. So you've got to put things in the proper order and put in the proper time, of course. It's worth mentioning that some schools may actually have syllabi especially uploaded in some kind of wonderful database, in which case this part of the process is going to be a breeze. It's going to be awesome for you, as you'll just be able to go and pluck as many syllabi as you want. That was not the case for my university, and it may not be for yours either. So in which case I recommend following the 3 steps, or just getting creative in how you can get those syllabi. All right, so you've got your syllabi. Now what? So obviously an option would be to just go through them and pluck all the dates by yourself, but that's going to take a lot of time, and we want to make things as easy as possible, and we want to utilize the fancy new technology at our fingertips to do so. And so I've got here for you, and this is included in the files that are provided on the website. This is the prompt that I used to get dates from events. Well, in truth, the prompt that I used was overly complicated. I've stripped this down to just what you would need to source the information to build the dashboard that we used. So walking through it a little bit, you can see we've got a section where all caps, I really want to make the AI know that we're just using this prompt for everything that's coming its way. We're telling it that it's going to be looking at a document, and that we want to generate CSV text blobs. It's a kind of formatting that is very easy to import into Excel or Power BI, that you're not going to have to do a lot of extra work. At this point in the game, AI does not seem to be able to create create files for you. This is about the best that it can do. Now, as technology changes, who knows, 6 months down the road, 2 weeks down the road, 5 years down the road, things could be totally, totally different. But as of this moment, this is the best way to do it. So we're generating CSV text blobs that we can copy into Microsoft Excel spreadsheets. We're actually going to import them, but same difference. So we wanted to take a look for those academic events. We tell them what they are, and we wanted to create a record, one entry in a database or a table for each exam or major project presentation containing the course code. That's how we're going to filter it. The date, so you can know when it is. We give it a little bit of a nuanced instruction here. If there's a range of dates, utilize the last date, because I think that this corresponds with the student mentality. At the very least, I can cite myself as a source here. A lot of times, if there's a range of applicable turn-in dates, I'm looking at the last date in that range. And we're telling it to ignore academic events with to be determined dates. Those are just not useful for us. Then we want to know what it is. And once again, just bookending it. Hey, turn this into a CSV text blob. All right. So what happens when you do this? I did not test it with every AI that's out there. I know there's quite a bit, but I used ChatGPT because it's the most popular one. And then I use Copilot because it's the one that I actually used in the project. But obviously ChatGPT being the name that it is, I included here. So this was for a very simple course that was super easy to cross-reference and confirm the dates that I actually took. So I can tell you right now, these dates are 100% accurate. And when I tested the AI, this was probably mentioned in the project or in the presentation, but in all the classes that I was personally in, all the major exam dates, project presentation dates were 100% accurate to the syllabi. And you can feel pretty good about that because professors aren't going to want to change the dates of their exams and major presentations, not as easily as they might change maybe homework or something if the course is running behind or ahead of schedule or whatever. But the exams are going to be more reliable. And so you see here our output from ChatGPT and Copilot. And they're essentially exactly the same for a course that was as simple as this one. The only difference between these two things is that Copilot puts in event date instead of just date, which I like a lot. If you're unfamiliar, well, I like it more. Like I said, I used Copilot for this project. If you're unfamiliar with CSV text blobs when it comes to this, I'm no expert, but I can just give you a basic guide here. These are going to be our headers. This is going to be our header row for the table. And then each one of these lines is an entry. And they're separated. The delimiter is the comma. And so you can see that the dates are a little formatted differently. But I've imported both of these into Excel. And Excel is going to have no problem reading those dates. So it's all gonna work. But whichever one you choose to do, it's up to you. This is what you want to see, though, just as an example. So you've run one of your courses through this, and you've gotten something like this. Now what do? How do you keep moving forward? You don't want to have 200 different files, CSV files. You want to have one master file that includes all of your academic event dates. So what you're going to do is you're going to create one big CSV file. This is going to make it way easier for you because you only want to import the one into Excel. I tinkered around with the other way. This is the better way of doing it. Just have one. And as you paste things in, let's say this was the second course that I had. Of course, it's the same course, but let's say I did a second course. So this was my first course. Now I go ahead and paste in my second course. Well, these headers are the same. Well, they're slightly different, but pretend they're the same. I'm just going to get rid of this and bring them together like that. Now we have one. And this may not be the greatest example because the dates are formatted slightly differently. But if you're running through the same AI using the same prompt, it should spit out the same thing consistently. So you just want the one header line at the top, and you just want to keep moving down the courses, adding more and more courses to your master document, and just getting rid of these header lines. They're redundant. We don't want those entries. Excel is not going to recognize this as a header. It's just going to drop it in as an entry, and you don't want that. It's bad data. So you'll just keep on going like that. And let's go ahead and save this, I suppose. It's going to make things potentially a little funky. No, sorry, I've thought better than that. Well, your master document will contain a number of dates. Since these are repetitive, let's just focus on the 3 that we have, and we're going to save that. So just a little bit ago, I showed you that I had it in Excel. Many of you may be familiar with importing data into Excel, but let me just go through it in case you haven't. You're going to open up an Excel sheet. It's going to be blank. It's going to look like this. You're going to go to Data, and you're going to do from text/CSV. All right, and now if I've saved this correctly, which I have, Excel is going to really think about it. Okay, so now it's going to bring it up and ask us, where do you want this? And we are going to go to wherever we saved these. For me, it's here in my documents. And we're going to select the relevant one. And, for you, that CSV file may look like master event list, combined event list, whatever you call it. And it's going to be a lot. It's going to be a lot bigger than this. This is just for example purposes. But this is what it's going to look like. And bang, look, you've got your table. You've got your course code. You've got your date, and you've got the name of it. Super simple. Nothing needs to be transformed here. If you need to work with your data to get it to look proper, if you notice that there's entries that are wrong or have null fields, then you can take a look at that. But if everything looks smooth, just load it in. Now, it's worth taking time to note that you don't technically have to go through Excel. You could take your CSV file, which is going to be big. It's going to be a lot more involved than this. And you could just port it straight into Power BI. And you could do that. And that would maybe save some time. I like to run it through Excel so I can take a look at everything visually here, scroll up and down if I needed to, and just make sure that everything's looking right. Before I take it into Power BI, it's going to be easier to fix things, or just as easy, depending on how familiar you are with Power Query. But I just like to take a look at it here. I think it could save you some time and it's not a bad middle step. All right, so now you've imported your data into Excel, and you have this master list of your dates. So what do you want to do now? Well, you're going to save it, and we're going to go ahead and start to open Power BI. And I've provided for you a blank template calendar that's got all of the formatting done. This is a matrix, but it doesn't really look like a matrix anymore. Table and as well as our slicers, everything's here already. So it's going to save you a little bit of time to run through the template. So we've provided this file. So what you're going to do is you're going to go to Model View, and we're going to bring in that Excel workbook that we created. So we want to go to wherever we saved that. For me, it's right here. I happen to know it's this one. Please name your files better than I do. It'll make things easier for you, but for purposes of demonstration, I know that this is the correct file. All right, so we're going to pull the table that we want. This looks like it. This looks great. I'm going to load it in. And you're going to notice that we already have a model in here called calendar. Calendar is important because this is kind of what's powering the allocation of our academic events and actually plotting them to real calendar days. But as you've noticed, when you go to my report view, these months correspond, it's not a full calendar year, these correspond to the fall semester that we have at UMSL. Whatever your situation is, if it's a different semester or you run a slightly different academic calendar, and you need this to be different, Model View is a good place to customize it to your needs. So this is what we need to change because this is our base calendar. We want to go into here and we've got a couple of measures. And this is what's generating this is the DAX prompt that is generating the calendar made by much more DAX savvy individuals than myself. The important thing to note here is this line. This sets the beginning and ending dates of our calendar. As you can see, I have it set for 2025, August to the end of December 2025. You can change this to suit your needs. You customize it. This is going to be the span of your calendar. So that's a very important line. Now we're going to want to make a relationship between our academic event dates and our dates on the calendar. So we're going to go ahead and create a relationship. And we're going to do one to many, because there could be many entries on this table, right? There could be exams that fall on the same day, but there's only one day that they fall on. Many events, only one day. We're going to do one to many. We're going to make that relationship. Bang. Okay. Now from here, this is why I provided two files. And we're going to start flipping back and forth between them. So I'm going to set that up real quick for our video. And we will be right back. Okay. All right, welcome back. I went ahead and set it up. So I'm going to assume that you have both files, the empty template, the one that looks like this, and that you also have the finished version, which looks like this. So this is ours, and you don't want ours because it's not yours, but it can be helpful to take a look at ours to get to yours. And the first place we're going to want to take a look is we want to go back to our model view, and we're going to notice a few things. First off, my table is my academic events table, like the one that we imported just a little bit ago, is a little bit more complicated. Like I said, I added a lot of things in here that I did not add to the prompt. If you want to add these things in, like instructor, course title, I had academic event type, so whether it was an exam or a presentation. If you want to do that for enhanced filtering purposes and you have the knowledge and know how to do so, there may be some complications in doing so. For example, you might have to create a many-to-many relationship, as there are instructors that teach multiple different courses or may teach multiple sections of the same course. There could be some nuance there. You can make some nice filtering. If you have the knowledge to do so, go right ahead. But in the end, all I really ended up using was the course code and the academic event date. That's why I simplified for our purposes and for providing a demonstration to you. This stuff is not all necessary. But there's a couple of things we do want to take a look at, which is this measure called events. And this is DAX code, and I'm above my pay grade right now. But I'm going to walk us through it a little bit. This is what is going to help us allocate what event is happening on what day in this table and place it on our matrix. And it's going to do some formatting for it. For example, in this concatenate X segment, we are combining course code. This is what's going to display on the current day that we have on the matrix. So this is going to say what day it is, and it's going to pull the events. And then over here, from our academic events table, and just I may be overdoing it here, but that's because this entire table is called academic events. In this demonstration, we flip back to the empty one. This is the one we just imported data from. I didn't name it very well. This is the name of our Excel file. So this could be anything. It could be master list. Could be compiled event dates, whatever you call it. In this case, on this completed one that we did, I called it academic events. So don't trip over, well, I don't have that table. Whatever table you imported, that's the one we're pulling from here. So you're going to want to copy this code, which is combining the course code and the name of the event. And we're going to drop that. We're going to make Control C. We're going to make this exact same measure over here in this one that we're currently working on. So we're going to click New Measure right here. And if you can tell that I'm not a Power BI expert, if you're the same way, you should feel empowered because you can do it too if I can. And it's going to throw you some errors, right? Because we don't have this table. It's going, what are you telling me to do here? I don't have this. And you say, very fair, Power BI. That was arrogant of me. I asked you to do something you couldn't do. So we're going to instead tell it, pull it from this table, which is the one that we just imported. And we're going to say, moreover, take it from the course code. You see that we're doing the same thing that the code did. We're just changing it to make it relevant to what we're doing. All right, so academic event. Got it. So now you will be able to commit this code, and it's not going to throw you any errors. All right, so now what we're going to do is we're going to start building towards this filtering section. And so the first thing that we're going to want to do is we're going to want to add in this third table, mysterious table that we've had here and you've probably seen and been wondering what that's about. Well, this is going to power that filtering. And so what we want to do is we just want to click on this and copy this code. So just copy that. And we're going to come over to our one that we're working on. We're going to click New Table. And it's going to ask you what you want to do. Paste that in. And now, you may have noted this with all of our measures, but you can call it whatever you want. Academic events disconnected. You probably want disconnected on there somewhere because this is not going to be actively connected. We're not building relationships around this table. But I'm going to go ahead and call it, you know, compiled events disconnected. And that works. And then we want this to center around what we want to filter by. Namely, in this example, the course code. So we're going to go back to our table that we've been working on this whole time. We're going to find that course code column. Bang. Now we've got this disconnected table. And what is this going to do for us? It's going to help us with that conditional formatting that we see on the completed version, where we can see these colors, these dates are highlighted, and other dates aren't highlighted. But if we add them in, then they become highlighted. How can we do this? How can we get to a point where, you know, we can select just what we want to see? Obviously, the text and the events are still there, whether or not we filter, but we can really visually make certain days really stand out. How can we do that? This is how we're going to power that. We're going to create another measure for our academic events table, whatever you choose to call it, and that's the CF one. So when you have this file open, copy the CF measure code, this DAX code, and go back over to the file that you're working on, the blank template, or if you saved it and called it something else. And we are going to click into that. Make sure you've got your tables clicked into so that you're adding your measures to the right place. New measure. We're going to say CF. We're going to call it conditional formatting. And then we're going to update which tables and columns it's referencing. Assuming that you want to do like we did and reference course code, we are going to update these to reflect our file and our course code. And name your table. Once again, name your table better than I did. I was setting this up for demonstration purposes, and I did not name it very well. And so basically what this is taking a look at is take a look at our days, take a look at our filtering, and if there's more than one of these things going on, turn back this code. And this is a hexadecimal code, and this code relates to this color. And so you can change this code to be whatever, your university colors, whatever you choose, you know, your mood ring output at the particular time that you were making this. It could be whatever. This is a way for you to customize this and really make it pop and shine for your purposes. So that is what this code is. And now that we've, I actually messed this up. This is a good chance to make sure that you're doing everything correctly, because if we flip back to this, we can see that this selected events is the disconnected table. And just so I can eat crow and hopefully not do it moving forward, I didn't do that. I did the main table on this one. So back out of that. This is something that could happen to you while you're doing it. We want compiled events disconnected course code. And now I'm just going to hit a double check and make sure that everything's lining up, and it looks like so. We had a little bit of a straggler here. Clean up our code, run it, bang. Okay. So at this point of the tutorial, we have added the events measure. We have added the conditional formatting measure. We have added the compiled events, or just the disconnected table, whatever you call it. So we've added in our event dates, we've created a relationship, a one-to-many relationship between our event dates and it'll show it, the date. So now that we've done all that, we are ready to begin really crafting our visual. So let's go ahead and switch over to doing that. Now, once again, I'm going to say, let's make this easy. Let's take a look, at our finished version and our work in progress version. We see that we're pretty close, but let's just go ahead and take a look at the differences. So when I click on this visual here, and I go over to this visualization tab or segment of the screen, I can see that we have weeks, and in the columns we have day names, and in the values we have events. But let's circle back over to the one that we're working on. All right, so when we flip back to ours here, we can see that we have week in the rows, day name in the columns, awesome. And the values, we don't have anything. And we want that to be set up like our other one. So we're gonna grab the events, put them right there. And now look, we've gained numbers on our days and our events. Awesome. We can see that they're here. Now, we want to set up our filter, which is not going to be super helpful in this example because I have one class in here. If we go back to our finished version and I click on this, I can see that in the field it has course code. And you can see that this is from, when you hover over it, this is from the disconnected table that we created. So moving back to ours, really just painting in the paint by colors here. We're just keeping everything the same. We're going to go to our disconnected table and drag our course code in. And we click it and it doesn't do anything. What the heck? Now we're going to take a look at that conditional formatting. What you're going to do and where this applies to is you are going to make sure that you have your calendar model selected. You're going to go to format your visual. Then you're going to go down to cell elements because we want our cells to change color when we have a filter selected, or just in general to let us know and really make those dates that have academic events stand out. And it's the background color that we want to do. So we're going to turn that on and it's going to say, what do you want to do with that? And we are going to use a field value, and we're going to do it based on CF. Bang. So you can see we can select it or we can deselect it. And there's really only one, so it's not showing as useful as it will on the demo, but that is how you apply that conditional formatting. If I had another course in here, you would see that we could flick between the two, but as things stand, I have the one there. And now instead of it just being text in a cell, you can really see what days those are. Further formatting considerations that you'll want to take a look at. Obviously, this calendar is a bit scrunched. It's just a thing in Power BI where it wants to save you space by pushing things. If they don't need to be that big, they're not going to make them as big as they would otherwise. And it's something that I fought Power BI on because I wanted everything to just look nice. As you add more events in, you can see that this row is already bigger, and we only have one event in here. That's due to some formatting, some padding that I've added. As you add more events, the calendar will space out. Maybe even be spaced enough that you have to do a little bit of scrolling to see the whole month. On a particularly busy month, that could absolutely be the case. But it's going to definitely fill out. So September is a pretty nice month for that. August, we don't have anything going on because, that makes sense when you think about it, because professors would have to be have a pretty aggressive academic schedule to be placing tests. And I believe we started this semester like the 20th. 19th through the 20th. So in the first week and a half of teaching. But yes, and you might notice that my calendar here is a bit grayed out compares to what yours look like. That's because I clicked into it. I just don't want to. Once you do that, it like kind of grays things out, except for whatever specific day you're looking at. If you close the project out and open back up, that'll go away. There's probably other ways to do it as well. But yeah, it kind of grays out. Like, we're working with the matrix here, so it's not a calendar, so it behaves in ways that are a little different. All right, so that is how you make the dashboard. Obviously, ours is filled out with more events. But as you add events, and if you had more events and more coast cores, yours would look just like mine. And you can change the hexadecimal code to change the colors. You can dive in deep into the formatting to change the bar colors. You can change the calendar, so you can update this slicer. So that way the months are reflected. And I have full confidence that you can dive into the formatting. I've gone ahead and created that template folder so that you'll have a head start and be able to skip over some of the steps that you have to take otherwise, just getting things up and going. But I hope that this was an informative walkthrough. I'm going to trim it down. So hopefully it will be a little bit shorter. I know I tend to ramble, but I really wanted to cover everything. And I will be monitoring the comments on this video to the best of my ability. So if you have a question, something's not working out for you, leave a comment and I will do my best to get around to it and supply an answer to you. And once again, like I said, check out that video. That was how I built this in large part. And like I said, I adapted it to our needs. But that could be a good resource as well if you have a question about certain elements. But yes, that is the walkthrough. I appreciate you taking the time if you made it this far. And I hope that this dashboard can be of use to you and your chapter and help to better align your event scheduling with your students' academic concerns and needs, so that we as Beta Alpha Psi chapters can serve our students better. And in turn, we hope to see greater outcomes for ourselves as well. It's all about, at the end, you give someone a hand and you might just get a hand back when you need it. That is a terrible analogy, but I'm going to finish it there. Thank you so much